Welcome back, True Seeker. December 29th, 2017. Time for another edition of Top 10 Questions where I really just answer every question that's asked. If you see me scroll past a comment, it's because I don't see a question there. And you're welcome to come back and read these comments anytime. Looks like some good comments have been left. First question. Have you read any books by David Icke? I'm aware of David Icke. I haven't read any of his books because I know he writes about reptilians. And not to sound closed-minded, but reptilians seems like conspiracy nonsense to me. You know, I know the people who rule this world bleed just like I do. And I've never seen any reptilians. Doesn't mean they don't exist, but I know who the tyrants are, and they're not reptiles. And then he asked about this author, Arthur Goldwag. I haven't read his books either. He has a book on Kabbalah called Cults, Conspiracies, and Secret Societies. I'll look into it. Thank you. Have you heard of the sea lion attacks on San Francisco swimmers? These animals are emaciated because the food chain is collapsing from the Fukushima meltdowns. The networks are trying to blame it on climate change. Well, I don't know if it's just because of the Fukushima thing. I remember going to the Oregon coast about 10 years ago, and the day I was there were just dead seagulls all over the beach. And I wondered why. I'd never seen so... I mean, if you go to the beach, there's often dead animals on the shore, in the sand, decomposing. But it was about 10 years ago, and there was just dead seagulls everywhere. And I really wondered why. Why were there so many dead birds on the beach? It was like, you know, somebody just gone hunting and shot all these birds and left them rotting. And that was prior to Fukushima. I'm sure Fukushima hasn't done any favors for the ocean, but we're destroying the earth. When I was in college, I think it was my sophomore or junior year, so that would have been 2002, 2003, somewhere around there. There was a scientific article published about how 50 years from then, there'd be no sea life left in the oceans. And, you know, a lot of times things are overstated, but there's no doubt that because of our choices as people, we are killing off the species of the earth. You know, we live in North America. This used to be a land full of animals. There used to be animals everywhere, all sorts of animals that are completely extinct. So there's all sorts of reasons that things are bad in the ocean and elsewhere. And something like Fukushima is definitely not helping out the situation, but I have heard about this, and yeah, I just say it's signs of the times, you know? Starving animals all over the place. Ecosystems destroyed. Have you ever done the gematria on Bitcoin or any other cryptos out there? Yeah, I've covered Bitcoin a number of times. Bitcoin has the gematria of 36. $sign equals 666, 666, the 36th triangular number. Yeah, watch more of my videos. This person says he thinks gematria applies to people's initials as well. Yeah, he's right. I talk about initials. Even though you're not mentally strong enough to deal with the facts surrounding flat Earth. Yeah, what facts are those? Nobody's ever been to the ice wall. You know, a sun can't set behind a flat surface. The flat Earth community has no explanation for seasons or what causes the orbit of the sun and moon. The problem is I'm not retarded enough to think the Earth is flat. You have to be really dumb to think the Earth is flat, period. End of discussion. This person says, does the word nigga really mean Jew-owned black person? I think I remember you saying that in your Chinks drug vid that got taken down. I did say that a long time ago. I don't know if it was in the Chinks Drugs video or where I said it, but as I explained it, the word nigga has gematria of 38. A lot of young black men have been killed by the number 38. At the same time, the word Africa's 38. The word Jamaica's 38. So is the word Jew. The word Jew is 38. And we know that the real Jews are the black people of the world. You know, the Old Testament set in the region of the world. The people are clearly black. The books that have been taken out of the Bible make it explicitly clear that the people in the setting of the Bible are black. Again, there's the example of Methuselah. He has a child that's white, and he's never been more weirded out in his life. I mean, just think about it. But the reason I said this is because look at what the word nigga is, you know? It's a word that's supposed to be used exclusively by black people. So, you know, it creates a group. And where was this word promoted? It was promoted within the music industry. You know, it goes back to James Brown and probably before that. And who controls the record industry? We know this. The false Jews. So they gave black people a word that's their own. And I understand the side of the word. It's like taking the word nigger and saying, I'm not going to let that word hurt me. I'm going to change it to nigga. And now it means, you know, like a black friend. But really all it's done is created a group. And, you know, that's what they want. They want us all in groups, all divided, all fighting amongst ourselves over race, religion, and everything else. So that is my take on the word. You know, I don't think the word's doing any favors for black people. You can't want to be treated as an equal and then say, well, we just have words for our own people. You know, doesn't make any sense. When people say I'm paid opposition, you know, it's like, well, where's the evidence that I'm paid opposition? Is there any, like, high budget thing going on here? Is there any commercials on my channel? The definition of a shill is somebody who takes somebody away from the truth. I don't know how anybody could ever say that my work took them away from the truth. Gave people a tool that wasn't out there before. That is obviously true. You know? And, you know, this person's probably a Christian. People say, oh, will you lead people away from Christ? I don't lead people away from Christ. I just speak my own position on what I think about religion and spirituality. And, you know, I'm honest. If I led anybody away from their own spirituality, that would be their choice. I've never made a video saying, all Christians, give up your belief, you know? Where in the United States of America do you think is the best place to live? Okay, let's just say that there was a collapse. The power grid went down. I think the best place to be would be somewhere around the Great Lakes, because then you would have a fresh water supply. Other than that, I don't know if it's, you know, great to be anywhere in this nation. The best place to probably be is outside of this country. But in terms of natural resources, the Great Lakes, they would prove very beneficial, you know, in such a scenario. That said, it gets cold there in the winter, so good and bad with everything. Compare and contrast the movies Pi and the number 23. I just gotta make a point. I hate when people spell incorrectly. Like, I understand if it's an accident, but why put an X at the end of thanks? Why not just write it with the S? Anyway, Pi, if you haven't seen it, it's about a man who's looking for a numerical code within the stock market. And then he meets a Jewish man who studies the Torah and Kabbalah, and he realizes there's an overlap with the code in the Bible That's the same code he's looking for in the stock market. That movie introduces gematria, introduces the Fibonacci numbers, phi, the golden ratio, all things that I share about on this channel. The number 23, if you're aware of gematria and you watch that movie, it starts with a dog named Ned. It starts on the 23rd day of February, I think, as well, February 23rd. But then this dog comes up with Ned, and later in the film he figures this out. But in the beginning, if you're aware, I mean, N's the 14th letter, E's the 5th, D's the 4th, 14 plus 5 plus 4 is 23. If you're aware of gematria and you watch the film, you just see all of these things that stand out. So the film, the number 23, is introducing the way the media codes numbers and words and uses, background backdrops with numbers that coincide with the story. He finds this book, Top Secrets, which is a lot like Top Secrets. You decode the way that's spelled, you'll recognize a lot of numbers that we talk about. So both of these movies, introducing the greater truth about numbers. This person writes, New York and New Jersey equal 33. Well, if New Jersey equals 33, it's not one of the 4 base ciphers. Vermont equals 33, not one of the 4 base ciphers. Since so many ciphers have been introduced now, if you're going to write things like this, it would be helpful to write what cipher you're talking about. In reduction, only 3 states sum to 33. The 1st, Delaware, the 6th, Massachusetts, the 50th, Hawaii, first and last. Just like out of the first 13 colonies, only 3 were established on dates with 13 numerology. The 1st, Delaware, the 9th, New Hampshire, and the 13th, I think, is Rhode Island. It was the 1st, 9th, and last, though, of the 13 colonies established on dates with 33 numerology. Delaware equals 33, established on a date with 33 numerology, all masonry. I also see a lot of people leaving comments like this saying this equals this, and then I'll look at the ciphers and it doesn't equal that. So I don't know if people are just trolling and trying to put up misinfo, but something to just pay attention to. Somebody asking about the Taco Bell ad 5 days ago. My blog post on it was the 16th, which was more than 5 days ago. Another person that doesn't follow my blog. Let's see. Outside of yourself, can you name all the other people I should be subscribed to? Well, if you come to my blog, on the side of it, you have to scroll down. If you scroll down, on the side, I have all these YouTube channels and blogs linked that all do gematria. So, and if there's any I'm forgetting here, maybe somebody can leave me a comment. Hey, you forgot to link this person. But I think I have everybody linked. So, what do I think about essential oils? I don't have an opinion because I've never used them. But natural medicine, always a plus. So maybe something I should investigate. Have any idea why time goes faster the older you get? I'm 21 and all the way up until high school I felt life was going slow, and as soon as I got into I think he means got out of high school, time flied. I saw that somebody left a comment to this and I agree with their comment. As you get older, each year becomes a smaller percentage of your life. So, years, they just become smaller increments to your own personal experience. And I think that's why for all of us, it seems like time gets faster as you get older. And I know that's absolutely true for me. Seems like it was just New Year's last year. And it seems like it was just New Year's before that. And I remember, it's crazy. But anyway, I think that's the way it goes. You get older, each year becomes a smaller increment of your own personal life. So it seems that much faster. What about crop circles? I didn't remember that crop circle to equal to 58 if I'd ever decoded that before. That's interesting. But yeah, we normally hear about these crop circles in the media, and most things in the media are contrived. Be interesting to go back and look at major crop circle dates in history in light of realizing the 58 connection. I wonder how many major crop circle dates were on dates with 58 numerology. Zach, for a one world currency, what do you think they'll do with drugs? I don't exactly know how those things go together. I understand that drugs have been used to control people all throughout history. Drugs, make a lot of money. Most people are rich, got rich through drugs. I don't think anything would change. So, what would you say if I said Clifford Irving, who wrote The Hoax, after he got busted for his autobiography of Howard Hughes, who died December 19th, 2017, 44 days after his 87th birthday, was another human sacrifice? I'd say you're probably right, man. 44 days after the birthday, the kill number, of course. Dead in December, sacrifice month. What's your opinion on rappers' lyrics? Do they actually compose their own material, or do they get provided with perfectly constructed verses, or do you think it's possible when they sell their souls that they sell for the ability to master lyricism? I think so many songs in mainstream, from rap to every other genre, I think that they are written by the powers that shouldn't be, the same people who control the radio waves. I just notice, and it seems to become more and more apparent, you'll hear a song on the radio and the lyrics focus on a word or a particular word, and then the next song comes on and the same artist is using that same word. It's like certain sets of words become trendy on the radio over periods of times, and then all artists start using them. And you could say, well, they're influencing each other, they're copying each other, but to me it seems like it's programming. So I remember the day after Michael Brown was shot, August 9th, 2014, I had XM radio then, and on one of the hip-hop stations, for the next hour, there were all these hip-hop artists who had a song about Michael Brown's death, and it was the day after the shooting, and I was like, really? They got all of these mainstream artists, these known artists, to make a song about Michael Brown? Who never existed, by the way, you guys. You can see the plastic dummy that is Michael Brown in a museum in Chicago now. That's why they left the plastic dummy in the middle of the street, taped off for hours, and then when they took the body away, they put it in the back of a police SUV. Michael Brown's body was not taken away in an ambulance. It was taken away in a police SUV. All verifiable. Anyone can look it up and prove it. I used to have videos showing. But I'm just bringing that point up to say how the whole thing is just so contrived. And I imagine all those songs that they were rapping that were ready to go the next day were written, in accordance with the planned news story. What do you think of the narrative where pro players are calling for more officials? Kind of sounds like having regular people call for more government, more big brother, more people to, have power over their lives and make decisions over their lives and determine what's right and what's wrong. And understand, sports programming, it's not so much there to give you the entertainment of the game as much as it is to sell you the commercials and also the other conversations that go on during the game. If you pay attention to what's going on in the news, the sports commentators are often talking about the big news stories and the downtimes in the game, the slower games, the blowout games. I remember after September 11th, you couldn't turn on any sports game without the announcers talking about 9/11, and how great the troops were. Then the military commercials. Sign up for the military. Be all you can be in the military. Everything's programming, A lot of things are subliminal, attacking the subconscious. Have you ever tried using Kabbalah in a positive way? Obviously, it's highly effective, or the elite wouldn't use it in everything they do. Maybe attempt reverse psychology on the mass population. I haven't I haven't tried to do anything in my life by the numbers. I've just documented when things happen organically by the numbers. Like, oh, wow, this happened and it's amazing how that lines up. But I haven't planned anything in my life. Recently, so I told you guys I was going to sell my home and I had to be out by November 30th. That was all true. I'd sold my home to somebody. I had to be out by November 30th. And I was in a hurry to sell my house because I was trying to secure another property in another city where I'm moving to because my girlfriend's going to be going to school there for the next 4 years for her master's and doctorate program. And there was only a couple units left, and we wanted to move into these homes because it's not a very nice area, and these homes are right across the street from the school she's going to go to. So wanted to get those homes, and the only way I could do it was by selling my home super quick, and I wanted to do it with an investor because an investor can just essentially buy your home in a day or a couple days, rather than going through the put it up for sale, find a buyer, do the closing process, which doesn't necessarily have to take so long, but I was just trying to do it as fast as possible, and I was even willing to lose money on the sale of my house to get into these other homes. So found a guy, I sold my home in a day pretty much, and signed a contract, and by the end of the week, he told me it would have been closed before the end of the week. By the end of the week, he said, my financer's having trouble coming up with the funds, but we're going to get this done, be closed any day. A whole nother week went by, it still wasn't closed. Another week went by, still wasn't closed, and by this period of time, I'd lost my opportunity on the 2 homes I wanted. So I told the guy, I said, look, I was selling you the home quick so I could get these other properties. I said, that's all falling apart now. So I said, can I get out of this contract because, this isn't, and he was willing to let me out of the contract. So I missed out on the homes I wanted to get. So I talked to the builder and asked if there was any other way he could build another home in the neighborhood, if he had any other lots. And he said he had 3 other lots still available. It would take a while to build the home, up to 140 days, possibly more. And of the 3 lots, I can't remember what one of the numbers was, but I remember what 2 of them were. One was number 96. That's a number we talk about a lot, right? And then another one was number 138. And to me, all the lots looked pretty much equal. He showed me the pictures in the background, and it wasn't a big difference. But I decided to pick number 138 because Zachary Hubbard equals 138. So I was like, well, maybe that's the lot that's for me. So anyway, I have now sold my house. I had to put it on the market and sell it to somebody, and that's okay because I ended up getting more money for my house, but now I have to wait longer to move into this other house, and now I'm also having to rent my house back. That's why my background hasn't changed. I'm still in the same house, but now I'm renting my house. I'm paying the person who sold, or who I sold the house to, while I wait for this new house to get built. And what's nice is, I live in an area that's densely populated, so property values are up. Where I'm moving to is not a nice area, and housing values are really cheap. So what's nice for me is by selling this house, I'm going to be able to buy that house straight up and have money left over and live in a nicer house, but in a lot worse area. So anyway, but I did choose number 138, being aware of the code. And I wish I could remember what the third number was, but I think it was because the number didn't stand out to me in any way, so that's why I forgot it. Do I think Penn State will win? Are they playing in the Fiesta Bowl? I can't remember who they're playing against, but I did just see they lost a former player named Adam at age 26 who just died for unknown reasons. Adam equals 26. First man created in verse 26 of the Bible. So, if they do win, pay attention to that number 26. See if that comes up in the game. Or even if they lose. Have you ever made any predictions in your personal life with the help of gematria and numerology? No, I haven't. Somebody pointed out that we have 1 in 9 for a number to repeat itself, so the odds are pretty high and more when we take numbers like 16 and use the reflection to get 91 to adjust it to whatever code we are trying to find. Can you explain this? Well, honestly, what you wrote, you didn't write it very clearly. By the way, this is the reason why Derek and others keep losing their mind following a number and then calling it organic. I do understand how gematria works. I have tested it out for myself and proved how it is being done. I'm even making a small video about it. However, I should say that 50% it's just odds repeating themselves, even more when you look for other words that bring some association to this subject. P.S. Critiquing is not the same as criticizing. Well, based on what they said, the more ciphers you bring in, the more room for coincidence. I would say, though, out of all of my work that I've ever shown, which is probably over 3,000 videos now and 20,000 blog posts, I would say a very tiny percentage of what I have shown is coincidence. Pretty much what I show is just based on the same concrete ciphers that are based on the alphabetic order, and the patterns are undeniable. This morning, woke up, front page story of CNN, 47 ridiculous things the New York Times article revealed about Donald Trump. 47? I mean, how often am I talking about that? Trump 47, President 47, White House 47, Government 47, Authority 47, DC 47, Trump in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel. But, also his first sentence is the numbers 1 through 9. Yeah, that's just 9 numbers. But we're not just looking at the numbers 1 through 9. We're looking at pretty much all numbers. And the way that they are used ritualistically. So, if I were you, I would work on your grammar too, You'll be better understood. Yeah, I know. It's funny how in the first top 10 I talked about how I hardly ever get sick, which is true, but then by the next week I was sick. It was right after I made that video too that I had, somebody cough, this nasty cough right in my face. So. This is a follow-up from last week. This person just says, by the way, the Scythians lived in Scythia, which is basically the land prior to the Khazarian Empire. The Scythians, explained in alt history, sure sound like Khazarians, as they pestered the Egyptians relentlessly. It's good to know. Have you ever read the Zohar? I haven't read the whole thing, but I haven't. I've talked about the Zohar before. Important book to Kabbalah, unknown origins. Zach, did you know that the Islamic New Year this year is September 11th? I don't know if that's true. I know that that's the Coptic New Year every year. Old World Christianity. Maybe it's the Islamic New Year this year as well. Have to look into that. Never done a breakdown on the Central Park 5. I'd have to look that up. I don't even know what that is. Hey, what books would you recommend that are similar to The Divine Triangle by Faith Giovanni? I would look up more books by Faith Giovanni. She has a number of books. Some of these books that people are bringing up that they're asking me about might be worth checking out. When counting days before and after birthdays, you sometimes say 44 days, span of 45 days. Does this apply for both days before and after birthday? Yeah, so always check the day to and the total span. Always check both because oftentimes they're both relevant. And it looks like I answered his question. So then he writes, does either one hold more value? For example, John Wall is 110 days after his birthday. Christmas equals 110. But the Wizards also have 111 wins all-time versus Boston. Wizards won with 111 points. I guess that answers my question. And also, look at that. It shows you how both numbers matter. And this is what I document all the time. This is how I learned that both of them were important. Because it seems they often get coded together. So that's just what I mean. I mean, you ask the question and then you apply the research, you're going to be able to find the answer for yourself. And he found his answer right away. Let's see, he asked it 5 days ago, he had his answer 2 days later. And that's the same way I figured this out. Asking questions, documenting, seeing consistent patterns. This person says, how can I type my name in? This person asking if they decode their name, how can they figure out what the numbers matter? Again, if you go to gematrinator.com, and in the search bar, if you just type in a number, hold on here, computer's running slow. If you come to this calculator, let's just say you decoded your name and your name equaled 110. If you write in 110 and click match, in the 4 base ciphers, it's going to show you, words that have the gematria of that. And you can also look just cipher by cipher. Maybe your name was 110 in reduction, you just wanted to see other things in reduction. Then what you do is you'd come down here and you turn off the other ciphers. And realize you can do this with the other ciphers too. You can search in any cipher, but if you just wanted 110 in reduction, it'll give you, and it's just giving you things that have been put into this database before. So, and I do recommend searching cipher by cipher. You'll get truer results this way. So, that's how you can figure it out. Just for these people who asked me about sports games during the past week, I'm going to answer these questions every Friday. So probably don't want to ask me something if it's going to happen before the next Friday. Zach, what is your favorite genre of music and favorite artist as well? Did you guys know that until 7th grade I thought this word was Jenner? I thought the word genre was Jenner. I remember when somebody said Jenner. That's not how you say that word. I don't know if I have a favorite genre of music. I like most music. I don't like country music. Country music really annoys me. I hate that screaming music. People are like, rah, 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 rah. I don't know how anyone can listen to that shit, But, and for the most part, I don't like any music from recent years. I feel like music just gets worse every single year. And I hate how modern music's all into this like electronic voice modulation. It's like everything's getting more fake and less talent and more repetitive. It seems like modern music, like everything is merging to sound the same. But if I had to pick out like favorite artists from the genres I do like if classic rock's a genre, there's a lot of bands I like, but if I had to pick a favorite, I probably like Pink Floyd the most from classic rock. Modern rock bands, my generation, I always like Soundgarden a lot. I like Tool. Hip hop, I always liked Eric B. and Rakim. I like Andre a lot from Outkast. Let's see. Yeah, just like when it comes to jazz and stuff, there's a lot of people I like. I have a big selection of artists I like, so it's hard for me to just say who my favorites are. But as long as it's not country, and as long as it's not modern, and as long as it's not some dude just screaming in an inaudible way, it's probably okay with me. The book comes out January next month. Bookbaby.com, you'll be able to order it. I believe you can order from any nation there. BookBaby's going to put my book on all the different online outlets. So if you can order things through Amazon in the Netherlands, you'll be able to get the book that way. I'm going to try to steer people away from Amazon, though. I don't like to support that company. But when the book comes out, I'll let everybody know where they can get it. People will be able to order it directly from me, too. I'm going to get copies, and that way I'll be able to autograph them and send them to you. For the time being, my home was supposed to be done this April, but the builder just told me it's probably going to be May at the earliest now, so I'm probably going to be in this house until May. But if you already have my address here, you know how to reach me. Hypothetically, if I made up a random cipher that turned letters into numbers and found all these neat patterns in the same way you do, of course ignoring the times where there aren't patterns, does that mean that we can spontaneously create meaningful ciphers, or does it mean that we can find patterns anywhere if we search hard enough? Well, I imagine that if you create a random cipher, if you, for example, reorganized the letters of the alphabet and assigned new numbers, and then decoded all the words of the alphabet, you'd find a whole bunch of patterns. It would work out that way. You know, there's always going to be patterns with numbers. But when this person writes, of course, ignoring the times where there aren't patterns, right after they said, like I do, you know, have you ever seen where I couldn't produce how the news was created by a numerological pattern? You haven't. And if you were here side by side, to date, there's never been a news story that I looked at where I couldn't show how it was contrived by the code. Because I've proven that every single news story is contrived this way. And you can do the exact same thing. That said, if you create, you know, your own cipher, you'll probably find patterns. And that's why in my decodes, I've stayed away from Derek's Jewish ordinal and Jewish reduction. It's possible that those are real ciphers, but Derek created those using his own intuition off of the true Jewish gematria cipher. You know, he took the order of the letters of the alphabet in that cipher and then reduced them. Well, he put them in the... Look, let me show you what I mean. So Derek took this cipher, which is a true cipher, and he created two new ciphers off of it. He created Jewish ordinal and Jewish reduction. So notice, A through I are 1 through 9. J is 10. No. A through I is 9. Then when we go to his Jewish ordinal cipher, let's go there. Notice it goes A through I is 9, and then K is 10, and then L is 11. The reason he did that is because in the Jewish cipher, which is true, K is 10, you see? And then he just went in logical order. Then the next biggest number is L, then M, then N, then O, then P, then Q, then R, then S, then T, U. Then his ordinal goes to X, Y, Z, then J, then V. You see, he made it based on that order. He created this new cipher. And a lot of people in their decodes are using these ciphers. And then he took that ordinal cipher and then he reduced everything to a single digit and called it Jewish reduction. You know, it's possible that those are true ciphers, but I'm not certain they are. And we already have enough ciphers, is the way I see it, to decode what the tyrants are doing. So, And these ciphers that Derek's created, there's a lot of interesting patterns, which he talks about in his videos often. But I never touch those ciphers because I'm not sure that they're true. You see? So, I think that answers this person's question. So this person does have a question here. I don't want to be a part of this system. Is it possible to make it even though I am pretty much against the man running the show behind closed doors? I don't think anybody... you can make it to college as someone who's not part of this system, but I don't think anybody makes it to the pros unless they become part of this system or if they're born into it. This person says people should read the book Saboteurs. Have to check it out. Is the One World Trade Center the third temple? Possibly symbolically it is. Do something on the boxer Tommy Morrison. How has God spoken to you through numbers? Have you ever just turned and looked at the time and it's 3:30, or have you gone through a negative moment and it happens, the time is 4:20, 2:40? Well, like I said, a lot of strange things have happened organically by the numbers. And being aware of the code and just looking back through history, like what I showed with my parents and stuff, you know? I think that's the organic side, so... If you haven't seen my video on myself and my parents, you should check that out. I notice you mention a lot about the power of the Zionists and the Rothschilds, but you don't seem to talk about how a lot of the hatred towards Jewish people partially stem from racist conservatives and people from the South. Well, that's your perspective, but, you know, people have been against Zionism since before the South even existed, so... Yeah, I think that's a flawed perspective. This person talking about gematria and other languages. Yeah, that's true. This person says, I love the way you passed my comment. Well, because I'm answering questions. I'm, you know, not reading every comment, so. It looks like that's all for the questions this week. Should I keep doing these? Are they that interesting? You know? I'll let you be the judge. Until next time, Truth Seeker.